how blessed we are to be able to meet like this and to continue to take care of each other from far as well as from near. This month, the theme is about the harmonizing power of love to help us to transcend differences and to truly behold the Christ in everything. This is the fifth gate on the tree that is found in the Gospel of the Beloved Companion, that is channeled from early on through Mary Magdalene. It's not a modern channeled material. It's a very ancient manuscript that was held within a family in France for generations. And it is connected very much with that path of the Magdalene. And she has a tree, which of course is very classic for many, many spiritual traditions. That tree of life, Isidrel, the Kabbalah, the tree of life in the Kabbalah, the trees that you find in the Old and New Testament. And so she has a tree that has different branches that represent the soul dancing up the tree and rising in understanding and consciousness and balancing inner and outer shadow and light. And this branch we're on this month is the fifth branch, which is the one of clarity and truth. And she actually says this one is the hardest gate of all, because this is where you come to truly know yourself and others as the children of living spirit of the divine. You really get it at depth. And so that's why I connected this particular branch with the high heart, which is a chakra that is not just been created, although it's been newly recognized and is really being honored and explored and integrated into our culture now. And Tiferet is this tree of life, heart center, right in the middle of the tree where everything is balanced and comes together. It's a heart. Dolores Ashcraft Nowicki of the Brotherhood of the White Light says that that is the gate of the Christian path, which is meant to be the path of love. I want you to do something for me. Close your eyes for just a moment. And now I'm going to ask you, point to yourself. And now open your eyes. And I would bet that almost without exception, we all pointed to our hearts. We didn't point to our heads. We pointed to our hearts. And the place that we normally point to is not just physical heart. It's really more the high heart space. Is when we say, this is me, we are pointing to this high heart, this mystical Tiferet chakra, energy center. And it's the place that is between the heart and throat chakras. It's right where we point when we say, this is me. It is the place where intent originates, where thought and language meets emotion, where head and heart come together. All of the spiritual traditions speak of the wisdom of the heart, which is different than the knowledge of the head or the automatic reactions of the heart. It's the response of the heart to the energies of high blessings and truth that becomes living wisdom, the wisdom of the heart. As this chakra opens, we become much more spiritually aware, and it's all based in love. It allows us to recognize that we truly are children of the light, that there is a divine spark within us that is ever and always there present. The color of that chakra is pink and magenta and bright white and turquoise. It is a blend. I've talked about seeing the purple is the color I see in meditation. And it's a blending of colors where they're all there and yet they blend in a way that's hard to explain. And they're beginning to be aware and be able to pick up this color spectrum blend using special cameras and all. And it's something that we're aware of, and it's so much like life and like us in that it is both. It is head and heart. It is us being the channels of that. It is living our lives in love. And being between the heart and the throat chakras is perfect, because this is exactly what the Master Jesus was talking about when he said, speak the truth with love. Speak the truth with love. When we think of the lower heart blends energies and can be a little more reactive and not as responsive. There was a saying that Gary Jones did when I was in ministerial school, and he would say, I behold the Christ in you, it's the rest of you I have trouble with. That's lower heart. I love you, but it's really hard sometimes to be embodied and each a soul that's trying to find their way. And no matter how close you are, how much you love someone, there are times where you have to walk through, what does that look like? What does that feel like? And so to speak the truth with love is to, rather than, I behold the Christ in you, but boy, sometimes I have trouble with the other parts. That's heart, mystical Tiferet. High heart is I behold the Christ in you, period. That's the high heart energy. It's what Jean Houston called evolutionary energy par excellence. This is the energy that calls us to evolve and to respond and to share our gifts and to allow others to share their gifts with us in that sacred soul exchange that comes with that. Charles Fillmore said love is the harmonizing power of the universe, and it's true with that lower embodied heart energy, and it's also true of the higher heart energy. It's the harmonizing power of the universe. Think of music, it's discordant or it's melodious, it's harmonious, and how different it sounds and how different you respond to each one. That music of the spheres is your living soul dancing in the presence of the divine and seeking to express it as best we can. Emmett Fox says, love can change everything. If you love enough, you will be happy and powerful beyond measure. Love can change everything. One of those examples of a love that blended heart love, which is beautiful and wonderful, embodied love, is not less than, it's part of the mystical love. It is taking it from an unseen consciousness and an unseen expression of love and life into an embodied form that lives and breathes and is present in the world. And so that regular heart and the high heart dance together and inspire each other. And this month, the tradition that we're celebrating along with this gate is that of Magdalene and Jesus. And Cynthia Bourgeault, in her book, The Meaning of Magdalene, says this, and I love this because this summarizes so much about that relationship. Hear this. The idea of Jesus and Magdalene as a wedded or otherwise romantically involved couple Whether their liaison was seen as human, spiritual, archetypal, or some combination of these three attributes, it offers a relationship model that is affirming and inspiring to many, one in which both parties are enlightened, powerful, and independent. Loving with the lower heart, embodying their love, and also expressing that high heart love that beheld the divine in them and in everyone they touched. It was this blend of high heart and embodied heart that allowed them to go through the process together of his spiritual release and her having the love that called forth the courage to be present throughout the entire process, to be there at the cross with her beloved, however you wish to picture that, how that expressed between the two of them. I would pray that they had the full embodied human experience together. But she did that and then held the sacred space in love as his soul transitioned, even as we do now for those we love and care for. And then she was the one who met him in the garden. And it was that embodied love, but also that higher love that allowed her to grieve the loss of the embodied beloved, but at the same time to embrace the eternal beloved. And so they lived this in a way that was powerful and profound. And they went through, as you know, many, many challenges and many changes in their lives. They lived a path of evolving spirituality, sharing it with the world, being willing to be seen as the children of light they were, and beholding that in everyone they came across. They lived in difficult, challenging times too, as do we. 2 Sundays ago, I happened to catch the Sunday morning show, and there was a very interesting man named Bruce Feller that was on it, and he recently wrote a book, Life is in the Transitions. He'd gone through a phase where they had family illness and death and multiple things that hit all at once in a short period of time. And it just knocked the pins out from under him. And so he'd written all these books on faith, and he said, I need to figure out, how do I live this with all of this change and loss and uncertainty? And so he went around the country and he met people of all different traditions, ages, and asked them, how did you get through the difficult transitions? And he came up with a phrase that I loved. And he said he realized that these severe, challenging transition periods are life quakes. Like an earthquake shakes up everything, there are times we go through life quakes where the very foundation seems to be shaking on which we stand. And just like with earthquakes, it's not just the original quake, it's all the aftershocks. And a lot of times we acknowledge and recognize that initial quake, that life quake of what's happened. We're in the midst of a pandemic. That is a communal life quake. And we're realizing and having to deal with and walk through life, trying to speak the truth with love and being present as children of light in a way that allows us to find meaning in it, to find a way in which we can grow and share our gifts. He said the linear life in our time now is gone. Used to be you did certain things sequentially. He said the linear life doesn't really exist. We are in a period of evolution. We need love, evolutionary energy par excellence to get through it. And he says, now we've got lots of twists and turns, and life is sometimes lived out of order. I remember when I talked to my dad, who got a PhD in the same field. He got his bachelor's degree, one right after another, bachelor's, master's, PhD. And then he has this interesting child who gets one degree and then wants to get a degree in something completely different rather than continuing. I went from special ed to nursing, and then to chaplaincy, and then to ministerial school. And it took until I got to ministerial school, that portal, that he said, you know what? He said, you're not doing it the way I thought you should, or the way I expected it would unfold for you. And he said, but I can tell you've done the right things. I think many of us have had multiple lifetimes in this one, because we are in a time of tremendous shift and change. Life quakes at all kinds of levels. And I think it's important for us to be gentle with ourselves and one another, not only during the quake itself, but with the aftershocks. I've always explained that grief is like standing on a beach, and you never know when a rogue wave is going to come in that knocks you over. Those are aftershocks. When you get that new job that you've dreamed of getting, and as you're settling in, that aftershock of, oh my gosh, can I really do this? What made me think I could do this? That's an aftershock. It's an adjustment. And he said the most important thing, and the key he learned through all of the study he did, was that the key is in your own response, your own unique response. Your life is a narrative, and only you can give it meaning. Only you can take things and put them in a perspective that gives it meaning, not only for you, but for our collective whole. We go through these life shocks and aftershocks personally. Sometimes it's voluntary, where we get married. Sometimes it's involuntary, where we get laid off from a job. It's collective as well. Collective voluntary is where we get involved in a social or spiritual movement. You being in unity is a voluntary collective consciousness decision. But also collectively, we have involuntary ones. And that is what the pandemic represents, is that collective involuntary life quake, which is why it's literally being felt all over the planet. And people are responding and reacting to it differently. This is our opportunity to hold a consciousness where we speak the truth in love. We stand in our truth, but we do it in a way that does not dishonor someone who is different. We are called to embody both the embodied heart and the high heart in our world. It is the only path. I love the chant that's, my heart is the road. It is. And walking along the road, you can find the meaning. You can find guideposts. You can find fellow pilgrims who are on the path with you. There's an old sign that I love that I had years ago in my office at Unity in Denton, which was, there are two things you can give your children. One is roots and the other is wings. And I would say those are the two things you can give yourself and others as well. Roots and wings. Roots is the heart, wings is the high heart. You need both. Maya Angelou said the important thing to do in our changing world, to be able to be present, 2 words: care and dare. Care about what's going on and dare to speak your truth and to be the being you've been sent, not only for your own soul growth, but for all of us. To care is that root, and to dare is to take that love and to give it wings and let it see beyond outer appearances and fly above, to give that higher perspective that we all so profoundly need right now. So may you be blessed with not only an opening of your heart, but an opening of your high heart. That place of awakening higher consciousness and a deeper awareness of how you find that path, that way through the heart, to be able to live the paradox of speaking your truth in love for others. Let us pray. Oh, beloved presence of the divine, please be present with us in this challenging world. Let us behold your presence in the beautiful natural world in which we abide, this orb of Gaia that we call home. Let us be grateful for all of the variety of life and nature, and let us be equally grateful for the presence of the variety of life of humanity. Our differences are what make us special, unique lights and presences of the divine. Each brings unique gifts and has opportunities of soul lessons and the ability to open to receive from others, because love embodied and love transcendent both are ever-flowing presences of the divine that give and receive and stand at that place where it's both and neither. It is simply the presence of harmonizing love that can make our world a bit more melodious and a bit less discordant. And it begins with each of us. And we invite all of our brothers and sisters all around the globe to unite with us in praying for a world that has been harmonized with love and wisdom, compassion, peace, and grace. And so it is. Om, Amen, and blessed be.